What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Lovely Loners. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this Kirby Lambert snap. And this is on loan to us from my friend Aaron, and I was super excited to be able to get an opportunity to cover this knife because I've been really interested in Kirby's work for a little while now, and I came close to pulling the trigger on a couple of knives that were available on True North Knives at one point, and then the ones that I was interested in sold, and I kind of backed off a bit. And when Aaron reached out to me and offered to lend a Kirby Lambert to me, I absolutely snapped at the opportunity. Aha! See, I copied Nick Shabazz's terrible sense of humor. But yeah, so I hope that didn't come off as like actually rude about Nick. Nick's a great dude. Just poking a little bit of fun. But anyway, this knife was super exciting to be able to get, and as soon as it came in on loan, I became instantly hooked on the idea of purchasing my own Lambert, which you can maybe see this crossroads sitting over here. So maybe that'll give you some perspective on how that went for me. But this knife has been really enjoyable, and I want to talk about all the reasons why. So let's go ahead and get some specs real quick. I'll just do a quick little size comparison for you guys. All right, and so let's see. Get these lined up here. So you can see that the knife is a little bit shorter than the PM2, obviously going to be much thicker, being one of those, what I've called in the past a fatty custom, and the Rat 2 is going to be completely dwarfed by the snap. Now, when we get into knives like this, I don't think things like size comparisons necessarily matter quite as much, but let's go ahead and check out the weight, because I think the weight always matters, whether you're the kind of person who buys, you know, $2,000 or $5,000 customs, or the kind of person who buys a $40 production knife. I feel like weight is something that everybody always has in consideration. So at 5.68 ounces, this is going to be a knife on the heavier side. You can see Kirby did some weight saving by choosing standoffs as opposed to a full backspacer. But there is going to be, of course, no internal milling. I could probably show you that if I really wanted to. So no internal milling in there. And yeah, so it's going to be pretty weighty. We do have this gorgeous blue G10 that has been completely, worked down to a super smooth finish, as well as this regular stitched carbon fiber. Nice smooth kind of matte finish, similar to my A-squared A6. And one thing that I do want to point out is this super cool two-tone anodized pivot. And the important thing that I haven't mentioned about this knife yet is that it's probably the oldest knife to ever come across the channel. This knife is 5 to 6 years old, as Aaron remembers it, and he is the original owner. And the fact that it's still with the first owner is pretty cool. And so this knife is super, super, ultra, omega broken in. But one other thing that I'm really impressed with is the fact that it's been kept in such good condition, and that really, like, the whole thing is pretty much void of any scratches. There's a couple of light scuffs on the very most pronounced section of the clip, and that's pretty much it. The blade looks a little bit dirty, but that's all just fingerprints. The blade's super clean as well, so definitely a really impressive specimen, especially at this age. You can see it is running on IKBS, and the action is, like I said before, super snappy, just as the name would entail. And because it's been broken in over so many years, you can see that it absolutely drops shut. Incredibly smooth. I love the sound that it makes. It really earned its name. Now, I will say that one of the gripes that I have is the shape of this flipper tab. It's really pokey, it's really pointy, it comes to almost an edge, and it's really upswept. So unless you really get the meat of your finger all the way up in there and just pull straight down, which is a very awkward way to open the knife, ultimately any pressure forward really pokes you. You can kind of see on my finger. So definitely not a super big fan of the flipper tab design. I could have done without that. However, speaking of how it feels in the hand, the ergonomics on this knife are super good. The clip, even though it's this big pressed clip, does a pretty good job of flowing away from the hand, or kind of falling into the meat of the hand, excuse me. And then these little sections here. Now, I have a smaller hand, so this fits my hand pretty well. I think that I would be pretty bunched up if my hand were any bigger. You can see there's not really a whole lot of more room on the tail end here. So this is probably going to be a model for a smaller choice for you if you're looking for a Lambert. The Crossroads over here and perhaps the Augustus are bigger knives, so do keep that in mind with such aggressive finger choiling there, I guess you could say, that, you know, that is going to be something you need to consider in terms of the size of your hand. And I mentioned the clip before. You know, the clip works great. It, you know, in and out of the pocket, one hand, it's fine. But I'm really biased against pressed clips on really expensive knives. I just, you know, and then you got Brian Nadeau over here doing this thing with stainless steel, and I just, come on, press clip knives are rat twos, right? Like, I want like a nice clip, like on a Nundi, or, you know, this Rask here, something like this. I don't want a little pressed clip. At least there's this nice, you know, hand-polished zirconium clip on the Crossroads. And, of course, he does the milled clips and stuff on his higher-end knives, but the snap is a little bit more entry-level for Kirby. But still, it's still a really expensive knife, and I would like to see something a little bit more advanced than this. Now, I know that there are people out there that are already disagreeing with me on that because they just want something that works and that they're not afraid to get scuffed up and all of that. And so I can appreciate the reasoning behind it. I'm just saying that for my personal tastes, that's something that I'm not super into. And then the last thing that I want to talk about on this knife is the super sick dual-sided blade grind. You can see here that what we're working with is an ultra compound grind. We have a hollow grind up through this area. Then we have a flat grind on the Tonto edge. We do have a false edge or swedge up here as well. And ultimately, we're going to have milled fullers through the front of the blade as well, as you can see here. And then if we flip to the reverse side, we do have a full hollow, maybe that's flat? This seems to be a very mild hollow grind that kind of rolls into a bit flat up towards the tip here, from what I can tell upon closer inspection. And then, of course, you do have the swedge on the top as well, but it is at a different angle than the swedge on this side. And then, ultimately, you can see this super cool tip. Oh, am I not in focus? I got a new phone camera, so having trouble here. But you can see that it comes to this really cool asymmetrical kind of harpoon-shaped tip, fishing spear tip almost, and it's super cool. I'm just such a big fan of Kirby's blade grinds. They're fantastic. You know, if we take a quick look at this Crossroads, might as well. You can see that we have a really wicked compound grind on this knife as well. So definitely something he's known for. Definitely something that's super sweet. Big thanks to Aaron for sending this knife along. I was really excited to be able to check out a Lambert. It was a big deal for me, so he's definitely on the list. You know, he's a North American maker. I put some other good North American makers out here. You know, just so you guys get to kind of take a look. I know I've been putting a lot of focus on the South African knives lately, and those are fantastic, and they're some of my favorites, but you got to give some love to the American and Canadian makers out here as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Of course, if you'd like to see beautiful pictures of this Lambert or any of these other knives, you can do so by following me on Instagram, and if you'd like to send me a lovely loaner or, you know, kind of just chat me up, you can always feel free to send me an email at tovarishworks@gmail.com. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.